Blau und weiß sein Leben lang. Hallo Leute. Willkommen zum einzigen Schalke Podcast auf English. Jawohl. This is episode 140 of SchalkeMerica. I'm your host, Richard Carmen, comfortably in my chair. Joining me, as always, co-host Jack Mangan. Jack, how are we doing on Victory Monday?
Not
Tuesday,
as well
Tuesday.
as yes, Victory Tuesday. That is correct. Not as well as you apparently swiveling around as you are in frame for those watching on YouTube or whatever. Yeah, have to mention the new racing or gaming chair, whatever you have going on there for Richard. Just living in luxury.
Living in luxury, that's right. Living in luxury. And there's good reason because feeling good these days, nice victory this we had a holiday weekend obviously here in USA and we on the back of that side Schalke 5-2, 5 goals without Terodde. Impressive victory. We kind of were hoping this would happen, a blowout victory, but we weren't sure, were we, Jack? But we got the win. More importantly, we got the win.
Yeah, a 7-goal second half.
Unreal.
I mean, the conversation, and we'll get into this when we saw the lineups was, can we score without Terodde in the lineup? Although he hadn't really been scoring in recent games anyway.
Yeah.
And at halftime, the chat, during our watch along was saying, well, we know the answer to that question, only for the game to then produce 7 goals in the following 45 minutes, of course, as everyone expected. So, definitely crazy how that one worked out. And also, answers the question on the backs of that disappointing result to Bremen. What was the response going to be against a lower table Sandhausen? We said that we needed not only a result but one that was pretty comprehensive. And although there were some shaky moments in this game, you look at the scoreline ultimately and the way the second half went, and you have to feel like they responded in the way that we expected them to and wanted them to see.
Yeah, that was a big question mark for sure because we have some difficult games coming up, especially this coming next Saturday. St. Pauli, top of the league, right? And so we were wondering, this is a must win. We have to, because we're unsure how those games are going to go. And if, we want a response. And 2, this is a team that's low in the table, second from the bottom. We need to get a win, an emphatic win at that, to make the fan base feel at least more at ease going into those big games, especially with the news that Terodde's not there. And, we got to get some goals. We pulled it out. 7 goals, second half. Like you said, we haven't seen that since, I won't mention the first game of last year. Let's get into the lineup in this one. See if I get my thing to work here. There it is. There's the lineup. All right. Starting off with us, we were the home team. Frazel in goal with Malik Thiaw, Itakura, and Kaminski once again in the back 3. Florian Flick would get the start in the holding midfielder role. You had Ranful on the right, Ouwejan on the left, Zalazar, Drexler in the middle, and then Peringer and Bulter up top. Obviously, Terodde. You mentioned it. The question mark when we saw this lineup, though we had some pieces we liked, as in Peringer and Flick, would we score was the question, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And all we, I think, had heard at the time, before kickoff was just kind of an unspecified muscle injury with no real indication of how severe it was going to be. And I mean, I think, as you mentioned, Terodde not going to be with us for the remainder of the Hindrunde. So we're going to have to finish this out, until Christmas without him up top. Obviously immediate question marks there. And this is where, you start to wonder if the striker depth is going to become a problem. We talked about it with Matthew Hoppe departing to Mallorca, to, of course, the golden child of this podcast, one Ahmed Katushu, and his departure as well. And so now, you see Peringer in the starting lineup, which I don't think many of us would have been upset about. I think we're all interested to get another look at this guy, for sure. But that was the big news. And then Ranful as well out on the right. I think somebody that we kind of argue is like the third choice in that position potentially. But the redeeming quality is Zalazar back in the midfield, ahead of Paulsen, and then Denny Latza didn't play because I think of excessive bruising or some soreness, that sort of thing. And so you saw Florian Flick at the base of the midfield as well. So, I mean, ultimately you have that Drexler Zalazar, central pairing with Flick, a guy that we're interested in seeing. So I think, on the balance, you actually were kind of intrigued by the lineup.
No, 100%. I think we were curious to see how Peringer and Bulter will line up together, because usually when Peringer comes in, it's for Bulter. And to see both of them out there at the same time, to see more of Peringer, we're really curious to see that. And Drexler and Zalazar in the middle, we talked about that last week, like you mentioned. Very important for us. Looking at real quick at the opposition, the road team, Druvis in goal with Diekmeyer, Hohn, Gierhoff, and Okoroyi. Midfield of Ritzmeier, Bachmann, Renicky, Benshoff, and Soku with up top Test Root. Decent lineup, I guess, but they're not going to lie. They're second bottom of the table. They're there for a reason. They struggle to score. They give up a lot of goals. And so the key was always going to be, could we do anything? And first half got a little scary there, wasn't it? Game starts. We started out with the first 10 minutes. It was great lively action by the team. I think Zalazar, I think you'd agree that he was like just on point. He was on fire. Looked like he was ready to take over this game. Great stuff by him in the first 10 minutes. And really, in that first 10 minutes, Malik Thiaw, I almost forgot this. Great move at the top of the box. Takes a left-footed shot from outside the box. Hits the post. And Bulter with the follow-up just misses it wide. But, I mean, the first 10 minutes, Zalazar and company were just flying hijack. This is the kind of thing we're looking from Zalazar, wasn't it?
No, I mean, and I'm glad you mentioned that Malik Thiaw play, because if you hadn't, I certainly was going to. Right. I think right around the 10th minute, takes the ball on his right foot, top of the box, kind of fakes the shot, gets the defender to go to ground, and then pulls it back onto his left, curler upper 90, like, inches from being a bar down, like apps. I mean, I would have like taken my shirt off on stream and just, run out into the street. Like, I mean, absolute madness from the center back there. And we said, like, whenever the team is in the mood offensively and they feel like they have a decent hang in possession, that kind of thing, Malik Thiaw kind of ventures forward and has a dribble, has a little shot, does this kind of thing. So interesting to see. But yeah, Zalazar in the mood, from the start. And he has that spark and that sort of drive and that energy. Kind of whenever he gets on the ball, he's looking to push the pace and make things happen. And sometimes you just need that sort of like inward inertia that he kind of brings, to proceedings. It's useful. So like to see him, obviously back in the lineup and providing what we've come to expect him to provide. Yeah, no,
100%. And we were hoping at that point, we're like, look, this is great. We're doing really well. I think we mentioned this on the live stream as well, is that like all we need now is a goal, because the longer it goes goalless, the more Sandhausen's going to get into this game. And as that first half started getting, moved on and on, you could see our intensity kind of backed off. Sandhausen started getting more and more of the action. We went into halftime 0-0, and people in the chat, they were saying, look, this is what happens when you have Terodde. You don't have a goal scorer. We can't score goals. And that was the big fear. We dominated every statistic but the goals. And at that point, if you're Sandhausen, you got to be feeling good. You're getting completely dominated on the road. Yet, one goal and you're going to have the lead. And I think for me, in that first half, Ronfel was the guy I needed to see come out. I thought he played poor. The rest of the team was okay, but Ronfel just didn't seem right. And we've been talking about Ronfel all season long, that he just doesn't seem the right fit. Like you mentioned, third string probably for us. Maybe fourth on that right side. So what was your thoughts of the first half after 0-0?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a Sandhausen side that, if I'm not mistaken, had conceded something like 28 goals in the 14 matches prior to this one. So quite literally like 2 goals a game that they're averaging. And so, probably simultaneously not the time you'd want to like lose attacking strength, because you'd like to be able to take advantage of it, but also potentially, maybe you can get away without having attacking strength. But, like you said, after that first, 10, 15 minutes or so, when things kind of cooled off, pace slowed down. We definitely got bogged down and didn't seem to have, much spark, kind of getting caught in some of these, once again, build-up shifts we talk about a lot. It was a little bit worrying, honestly. I mean, because as you mentioned, it's just like, the longer this game goes on, all it takes is one counter, one mistake, Sandhausen scores, and then they can, collapse and kind of like park the bus even more than they probably would have already wanted to. And then there's all this, pressure on it, pressure on the coach, pressure on the team. And those kind of things that kind of can build in matches. And we've seen over the past couple of years, we haven't always risen to that pressure when things start to go south in that regard. So, concerning at halftime. And I think we were both kind of looking around like, all right, what's the team talk from Gramatsis? What's the response going to be?
Yeah. And I think one was we couldn't wait for halftime to get there, because the more that first half went on, the more Sandhausen would get into it. And so we were thinking, going to the break, Gramatsis has got to light them up, because one, his job is on the line if they lose this game. But two, they need to get their mojo back. The first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game, they were doing so well, need to get that back. So we were almost certain that they were going to come out firing. Not so much. Right out the gate of the second half. Ranful makes a silly mistake, causes a turnover. They go the other way. Sandhausen do. Ritzmeier gets a goal. 1-0, just like that. We're down. Exactly what we didn't want to happen. We wanted to score a goal. If we didn't score, we knew they were going to score, and they did. 47 minutes. We're like, here we go again. Gut punch, to say the least, coming out of the gate.
Yeah. I mean, like, worst possible start building on that first half, and as you mentioned, it was Ranful that was largely responsible for that, kind of building once again on his poor first half as well, and ultimately would go on to redeem himself, which we'll talk about to some extent this game. He had a very interesting,
yeah,
tale of two halves for him as it was in terms of the goal scoring in this match. Yeah, I think the assist there from I forget how you pronounce the guy's name. My apologies, but like Suku, the left winger, he was pretty strong in this game, I thought. And helped finish that one off. But obviously was a big part of their attack outside of that play as well.
No, he definitely was, and also the second goal they ended up scoring this game, he was heavily involved as well. So yeah, the big question again, as always, is how do we react? Especially no Terodde up there. We're not scoring goals in that first half. How do we react? Getting punched by one of the bottom feeders of the league. Well, team responded well, I thought. In particular, Ranful, who we just mentioned, we're all screaming for him to come off. I was literally screaming my head off for him to come off after that goal. And lo and behold, as soon as I say that, he goes down, makes a pass, which we think is intended for Bulter, misses him, goes to Drexler on the right-hand side into the box. He keeps his head up. He passes back door. Ouwejan pounces on it, puts it away. 1-1, just like that. And it seemed like we just reignited and that energy came back. But Ranful made a play there. I don't know if it was intended or not. He's probably going to tell you it was. But
yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned that. I had completely forgotten that you and I had said that when we were watching on the watch along stream. Like, I don't think that was actually an intentional through ball. Like, it just kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, if that was Drexler that played that in, I forget that's what you said. I mean, ultimately, great awareness from him, gets his head up and picks out Ouwejan. I mean, which is hilarious to me. And it's Sandhausen. What do you want from them exactly? But the idea that of all people, you're just gonna let like Ouwejan backdoor just kind of sneak in, like, I mean, it's kind of one of the main people you want to be paying attention to. I mean, certainly there was more pressure there on Ranful than there was on Ouwejan, which is probably not the priority that I would assign. But yeah, it does a great job letting it kind of come across his body and finish it with his left foot. Yeah, really nice finish and immediate response, which is exactly what we needed. And you could see how much it meant to them.
Yeah, and Ouwejan once again feeling in this game. We'll get to that emotion much later. But yeah, got a goal right there. Great for him. Great for us, really. 1-1 at that point. And from that point on, really, that was the turning point of that second half for us. We continue putting pressure on. We said on the live stream we need a second goal because at this point, or we need to get the lead in this. We can't settle for a draw because again, same situation. The longer it's tied, the better Sandhausen, better chance they have of come back and biting one else on. But anyway, there was I'm trying to remember the play exactly. In swinger from Ouwejan coming down the left hand flank in the 64th minute. He crosses it in. Hits off Peringer in the chest, and initially when the play happened, it hit off Peringer off the chest, went to Bulter. Bulter puts it away and gets a goal. And I'm like, that's a fantastic play by Peringer. Upon watching the replay of it, you see Peringer tries to go for goal off his chest, hits the defender in the face or something, and bounces right back to Bulter, and Bulter just puts it away. But nonetheless, Bulter gets his goal finally. Looked angry on the celebration, but 2-1. Great momentum just kept going, which we wanted to see is keep putting the foot down, the metal pedal to the metal.
No, and important for Bulter as well because
yes.
He's obviously been in the shadow of Terodde all season. Different players, they do different things. They bring different things in to the game, and they have different responsibilities. But you still get the sense that he wants to score goals and he wants to be the guy. And kind of embraces that when he gets his opportunities. And so the fact that so many of those are going to Terodde, you were wondering if like this is a big game for Bulter to step up in his absence and kind of like make his mark over the next couple matches. And certainly started to do that in the second half. Of course we love a Bulter celebration, don't we, my friend?
Freaking Ivan Drago.
I mean, the face is just priceless. So a thing of beauty and interesting. Like you said, it was not unintentional kind of return pass from Peringer. The next goal, which would come from Sandhausen, was actually very similar in that it was sort of an unintentional deflection pass that led to like the final shot once again. So both of those, like, I think when you initially watch them, you're like, wow, that's a great sequence. And to some extent they were, but it wasn't quite as nice as you thought initially, because both of them had a little bit of an element of luck to them. Yeah.
Which was it, that goal, or which was the goal later, that Buskens celebration on the sideline? Which one was that? Do you remember?
That may have been the Bulter one, actually. I forgot to mention that.
This was the play of the game for me. Buskens going crazy on the sidelines, literally chases down Schroeder and like chest bumps, almost knocked him on the ground. I mean, Buskens was amazing on that goal. I mean, you got to watch the highlight. We got to retweet that. We have to find it somewhere, but. I mean, we were dying on the live stream because he looked so angry, but he was happy.
Oh, it was great. Yeah. I didn't even realize that it was Schroeder at first, because he was kind of like facing camera and like kind of like in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Buskens just ran up and just like Schroeder turns around like, what? And Buskens just like, come on, man. Like, oh man.
He like literally chased him down too. Oh my God, it was great.
So great.
Oh, it was awesome. But 2-1 at that point. And immediately when they scored, we were like, we need to get another goal. We need that insurance goal. And again, off a corner this time, ball comes in. Bulter again involved, deflects it right to to Girov, the defender for Sandhausen, hits off him unbeknownst to him, and goes right into the goal. Nothing he could have done about it. He didn't even know that ball was coming. But Bulter and Ouwejan involved again. Great deflection by Bulter that led to the own goal by Sandhausen. 3-1. That's the insurance goal we wanted. And at that point, it seemed like we were really feeling it at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, Bulter just getting involved in a lot of different ways, and you know, finding a way to make
near post too, wasn't it?
Yeah, near post run, like small impacts on various plays, and you know, ultimately very unlucky. But once again, it's great. I mean, I'm not saying like fantastic ball in from Thomas Ouwejan, but both of those last two goals are balls in from Thomas Ouwejan, and the prior goal, the initial goal, was him scoring. I mean, like through Thomas Ouwejan, all things are possible. And we keep saying this, but I mean, the guy is phenomenal and just at the heart of so much of what we do, whether it's set pieces or you know, some of our dangerous attacks down the flanks when we whip some of these balls in. So, credit to him, who continues to just exceed expectations. And you know, when you think he's peaked, he puts in another performance like this, and you're just lucky to have him on the team.
We had the Ballon d'Or celebrations yesterday or whatever, and sadly no Ouwejan or Terodde in the mentions there, so we thought they're for sure going to be top 30 there. But great by Ouwejan to set that up, and Bulter for really getting the foot on there. And we're glad that we got that insurance goal, because 2 minutes later, this is actually a really wonderful goal by Sandhausen. Tic-tac-toe passing all the way around. Terodde ended up putting it away. It was just a fantastic goal. You had to applaud that. But Schalke, the 6 and 7s on that defensive play, really made Sandhausen look like Barcelona peak years, didn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the goal I was mentioning. So maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think the final ball before the shot, I don't actually think is an intentional pass, but a deflection back to the test right before he shoots. But the build up before that was great, one touch passing, very incisive. It looked like old Arsenal or something. It did some extent. It was, and then ball just fell very kindly for him, and he just kind of sidewinder half volleys it and hits it really nicely. And it was one of those goals. It was kind of like it went from like nothing to in the back of the net in about 3 seconds, and you're just kind of like, wow, that was efficient. Very, very clean goal from them, and good that we were in the goal scoring mood that we were, because it's not often that we concede a ton of goals in this one and ended up conceding a couple to Sandhausen of all teams. So
and 3-2, we were unsure what was going to happen. Would our goal scoring continue? Would they tie the game? It seemed like they had maybe momentum, killed our momentum, it seemed like. But again, Ranfel this time again doing good, coming down the right hand side. This was in the 76th minute, just 2 minutes after Sandhausen's goal. It was like bang, 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 those 3 goals. Ranfel comes down the right hand side, crosses it in the middle. Bulter making the near post run again, and backheel flicks it to the far corner for a goal. That's a beautiful goal, Jack. I mean, you spotted it before I did when it went in, and I'm like, what? And I had to watch the replay to see the skill that Bulter had to get that into the net.
Ranfel had already been involved in a couple of the goals that had come about after making that initial mistake for Sandhausen's first, and put a decent ball here. Pops up on the right hand side, whips a good ball in with pace, and Bulter's kind of boxing his guy out and kind of acrobatically gets the back heel that rolls kind of far post and just kind of squeaks in. Inventive, and you got to applaud it. And once again, love that from Bulter too. I mean, like, this is
Yeah.
what I mean. Once again, it's been Terodde so often, and flexing his goal scoring chops, and putting some in a couple different ways here. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like the more Terodde, like hold up play, use my
Yeah.
body, like classy finishing as opposed to the first. So yeah, interesting stuff from Bulter there. Good game from him.
Yeah, I mean, he scored 2 goals. It was instrumental on that one own goal, for sure. So yeah, really good game by him. And really, the only thing missing, I think, at that point we could all agree, was Zalazar getting a goal. And then in the 82nd minute, game's already in hand. He makes his great run down the middle of the field. I think he ended up like passing it to Bulter, gives it back to him. It looked like it was going to him, or maybe Ouwejan. I think it was clearly going to Ouwejan, and Zalazar almost like takes it from him because it was really behind him. Gets a goal from it, great. But what I noticed, and I think you noticed this as well, Ouwejan's reaction after the goal was like, "Come on, dude, that was mine." But Zalazar, if he didn't score, he would have been in a lot of trouble, I think, from his teammates. But he put it away. Really nice finish. 5-2. Zalazar got his goal. 7 goals in that second half. Unreal.
Yeah, I don't remember who initially took that away. It may have been Piringer. But it came off of a nice poke away. Yeah, and you said Zalazar advanced the ball up the field quite a ways. That ball was, as far as I'm aware, absolutely intended on the cutback for Ouwejan. It was perfectly weighted for him to just kind of like walk onto it and whack it. And yeah, Zalazar came out of nowhere and just not in stride, not in rhythm, just completely poached it. And then I think that's kind of where you see maybe some of the defensive frailties of Sandhausen, like letting him just kind of dribble around for a second and somehow turn and have that open lane to fight. And nice finish from Zalazar, like give him credit, but and also clearly wanted his goal, like stole it off a teammate and made sure he got the shot off. So I mean, it's not like he wasn't asking for it, but Ouwejan was like visibly upset by that.
Yeah, I think, bro,
and you'd think that like he'd already scored a goal, been involved in a couple other ones. That's the 5th goal of the game. They're winning. He would just kind of let it go, and he was like visibly, I think, pretty annoyed by that from Zalazar. So that's interesting and maybe something to keep an eye on.
Because I think had he not scored, that's understandable for to be upset. But once he scores, he'd be like, all right.
Given the context, it wasn't like it was a 0-0 game and that was like the important goal, and the guy like ruined a higher percentage opportunity. Some whatever
ruined his bonus.
For sure. Yeah. Interesting though. So we'll have to see if there's any of that in the future in terms of the body language between Zalazar and other guys when Zalazar gets a little trigger happy on some of these. But once again, I'm not opposed to Zalazar having a go a couple times a match.
Nope.
And honestly, with the work rate he puts in, he kind of deserves to let fire and have those opportunities when he creates so much for other people. So, probably wrong to jump in there, but made the most of it. And once again, good game from both Drexler and Zalazar centrally. Like I like that pairing. I think they do good work together for the most part. It was a strong performance from both of them. Yeah. Flick was fine. Okay. Not great, not awful. Like he was fine. Piringer was fine. It was really, Drexler, Zalazar, and then Bulter and Ouwejan once again.
Yeah,
really kind of making things happen. And the 4 of them had phenomenal games.
And I think, obviously Ranfel, who had the shaky first half and obviously the early start to the second half, but he bounced back very, very well, I think, for himself, involved in a couple of the goals like you mentioned. So he almost had a complete opposite of halves there. And then Piringer, I think he didn't do much offensively. I mean, yes, he was instrumental in Bulter's first goal. He came back a lot defensively, I thought, too. And like you mentioned, the play before Zalazar went on his run, Piringer was back there making that poke. A couple other plays, he was breaking up plays defensively as well. Like, you don't really want your striker back there, but in a game, in a situation where the score is tight, it's all hands on deck to try to stop that, right? And so I think he had a decent game, I think, overall too. Kaminsky, Thiaw, Itakura really didn't have much to do, I don't think.
Quiet game from them, really. I mean, and neither goal was really, the one was just Ranfel's fault most, and the second one was just kind of something that happened. I don't know. And I know we mentioned it a couple of times, but to your point, I mean, commendable response from Ranfel, because he probably, has an understanding of where he is in the pecking order too. So like, he knows that he hasn't been getting the opportunities recently. This is an opportunity for him. It's a critical point in the season for his team. Yeah. He makes a mistake that could potentially cost his team the result at that point. And sometimes that's when you see what people are really made of, and it doesn't mean that he has to come back and have a phenomenal second half, because he had a very, very above average second half, I think. But at least that he hung in there and didn't let the head drop and contributed to some other good things that were happening on the pitch. I think was a strong response from him, and I gained some of my respect for that for sure.
Yeah, if he can finish at the Hindrunde here, I think there's 2 more games left or so. It'll be important for him and the team as well. We got some big matches up ahead. Statistically, we dominated this game. We had from the beginning just the goals that were lacking, and then second half we blew it up. But 25-7 shots in our favor, 9-3 on target. Passing, we had over 200 passes more than they did. Our passing accuracy was actually 82%, pretty good. We've averaged about like upper 60s, which is poor. Sandhausen, to their credit, they had 65% as well. They outfouled us. It was the opposite for us, almost exact opposite against Werder Bremen. We were getting outshot. We were fouling more than the others. We were having bad passes. So good bounce back performance. At the time, the result, we were in 4th place, which is good bounce up. But after all the results happened, we are now in 6th position, only 6 points from behind St. Pauli, 3 points, and we're in 2nd. But we have St. Pauli this weekend. We have the Flying Bergstallers, if you want to call them. They're back in 1st. Darmstadt 2nd, Regensburg 3rd, Paderborn, Hamburg, and then us. And then after St. Pauli, if we get out of there, it's Nuremberg.
Yeah, first in the table, 7th in the table, 5th in the table, I think.
Yep.
St. Pauli, Nuremberg, Hamburg. A very difficult 3 to close out the Hindrunde, which is why this result was as crucial as it was, needing to take advantage of that sort of lowly opponent, especially on the back of really kind of a stolen 2 points from us in Bremen. And obviously we hope that those 2 points don't ultimately affect us at the end of the season, and you couldn't blame it on that if that ended up being the case, because there's plenty of other games that we could have performed better in and won. It's not like we're going to be able to blame that refereeing decision on anything that happens. But looking at the table at the moment, for example, we'd be tied with, I think, Regensburg in 3rd. Yeah. If we picked those extra 2 points, and instead we're in 6th. Like, these things can make a difference. But I guess that also goes to show you that the table is still at this point of the season relatively compact at the top, which is encouraging for a team like us that's outside the top 5 at the moment. So hopefully we have Schalke deliver us a nice Christmas here with stringing a couple results in a row. Yeah,
more than a couple, 3. Anything. We'll take at least 2, right?
Stringing the lights up, stringing the results. Come on.
There you go. Devki says, hey guys, this season team is good against lower ranked teams, but struggle against the higher ranked teams. Dimitri doesn't give me confidence for automatic promotion. I think the sentiment is pretty fair for most fans. Given we're currently 6th in the table, that's not ideal. We want to be top 3 going into the winter break, honestly. So these next 3 games are huge because we could fall really deep, or we could jump really high in the table. We could arguably be in the top 2 if we get really good results here in the next 3 games. So it's an important game for Dimitris Gramotzis. I think the team will be fine, but I don't know if he will be around. And if he doesn't get positive results out of these 3 games, he might not be here in the Rückrunde. I don't know. I don't feel confident that he would be, especially depending if we're lower than 6th in the table, Jack. Because we said it from the beginning of the season. Come the Winterpause, if we're not in the top 3 begging for automatic promotion, he's probably not going to last. I'm sure the leash is short.
Yeah.
Schroeder's been remarkably, lenient with him, but I think the fans would be on Schroeder immediately if those results pan out like that.
Yeah, and I think that we all just kind of feel like the results are just papering over cracks in his system and his general approach that just kind of never get resolved. They just kind of get put on the shelf when there's a string of a couple wins, and then the next big loss happens and we're talking about it again. But what I will say is, the one thing is, to his credit, and this is sort of narrative-y and we don't really know what happened, but Schalke came out in the second half after the energy levels had dropped, and they were a much, much better team in the second half. Looked like they had been fired up and ready to play. We're even able to ride out, like we said, the goal at the start of the first half, despite that kind of big blow initially. And so I think, there's probably some credit to go his way there as well. On the back of that Bremen result, poor first half, and something happened in the locker room, and they came out, and they ended up executing at a high level. So credit there.
Hell, maybe it was Buskens, right?
Something was in his Wheaties, so it very well.
Oh my goodness,
that is the funniest thing.
We gotta find a GIF of that.
That's the official GIF of SchalkeMerica. I'm gonna call it right now.
We gotta find it, and we'll make a GIF of it. But yeah, And some heartbreaking news, I guess, for us. We kind of knew that going into the game. Terodde out for the game. That game with a muscle injury. It's kind of vague, but we kind of found out after game that he's out for the rest of the Hindrunde. A calf injury, I believe, is what they said. And we're not going to have him for arguably three most important games of the Hindrunde. Granted, we played Hamburg already, so it's second half. But yeah, these are games we're going to need goals to win. You'd imagine. But positive signs from Bulter and Peringer. Obviously, Ouwejan, Zalazar stepping up. All these guys who did well against Sandhausen will have to play well against St. Pauli. They have to stop Drexler first of all, and their assist man. And then after that, they're gonna navigate through the friends of Nuremberg and then go to Hamburg as well. So it's not easy not having your talisman there because Terodde does so good of just distracting everybody else, and you can kind of play around that. But maybe it's a blessing in disguise, Jack. I pose this question to you. Maybe we were overly reliant on Terodde, and what we saw from Sandhausen was maybe the team realized they had to be more of a team and play all better, and that's why we scored more goals. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first of all, there's never a good time to be without your best goal scorer, but this is certainly, not a good time at all. Yeah, like as you said, given the opponent. So yeah, definitely bad timing there. I do think there are times, given how little creativity there is, once again, sort of in some of our buildup, that when things are bogged down and not particularly going well, and we aren't able to kind of get in transition and express some of that creativity, that there is a propensity to just kind of like hoof the ball to Terodde and be a little bit over reliant on him trying to, win an aerial ball, maintain body control, and play somebody else off. And so, yeah, to the extent that they're going to have to find a way to make things happen without him over the course of the next couple games, if that ends up being kind of instructive for them and they can, maybe make some improvements to how they operate so that when Terodde comes back in, he fits in without disrupting what they have going on and just is able to add to it with his, all of the attributes that he has rather than becoming the focal point of the attack. Yeah, that could absolutely be a good thing. I don't know to what extent that's going to happen, but, and once again, I don't want to be overly dramatic, given that it was Sandhausen, that we kind of expected there to be, something of a goal explosion in this one.
Yep.
But yeah, early returns are good, and they needed to get a result without him, and they did it by scoring 5 goals. And you had, Thomas Ouwejan scoring a goal. You had a midfielder, you had a left back, you had a striker. You had people chipping in from different areas of the pitch, and goals coming in different ways. That's pretty much exactly what you'd like to see.
Yeah, and to your point, I think if there's a time that you're going to lose your best player, it's before the game against one of the worst teams in the league, as opposed to right after. Had this injury happen after the Sandhausen game, you go into the St. Pauli matchup with the unknown. How are we going to play without Terodde now? You had now at least a game without him to kind of see how you would play, how the guys are doing. Now you can make improvements upon that and go and have a better game plan going against St. Pauli. So that's the one, I guess, caveat you can put in there that's to our benefit that he got injured before the game, not after. But yeah, it's important that all the guys play well going to this game. This is a huge game for us. St. Pauli looks like a almost a sure bet for automatic promotion this year, the way they're playing. Bergstaller might get 20 goals this year. It's unreal. Got a question here in the box from Devke. Says, do you have any news on transfers in January, especially with the kind of financial meltdown that Schalke is in? I would imagine, this is just my thoughts, Jack, that we're probably not going to be spending much. I mean, Schroeder is going to work his magic as he has been. Maybe he's going to find somebody free or off the street or something, but I can't imagine we have any money to spend on anyone. And I think whatever resources we have for money, depending on the situation at the table, we may want to, allocate that towards a manager if that's the situation we're in. It really depends on how these 3 games go, because it could be, hey, we're in a good mood, we're top of the table, and we just need some reinforcements for depth. Or it's, shit, we need to get a new manager. Forget it. We have good pieces. Let's just get a new manager.
That's the managerial salary question is an interesting one. I do feel like Schroeder has come out and basically said that they're, admitting that they're in the market for another attacking player. So I haven't heard any specific names really attached to that with the January window. And I think for the most part, our focus, you and I, has been on the fixtures, leading up to.
I thought you were going to say Amakatushu. That's been our focus.
It would be a great time to free Katuchu if only one had a Katuchu to free. it is always a good time to free Katuchu, is it not, Richard? But unfortunate. Anyway, totally lost my train of thought as a result of that. Thank you. But no, the January transfer window. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we brought in someone. But to your point, there isn't a lot of budget to play around with at the moment, so I would not expect us to go crazy. I think Schroeder did a pretty good job in the summer window, rehauling the squad under the circumstances, and we do have decent depth in most positions. It's really just kind of up top that we're a little bit thin at the moment.
And I remember going into the season, we did sign a player, and the name escapes me, but he had some bad history with him, domestically. I don't know, domestic abuse or something like that. And so after we signed him, or we're getting ready to sign him, the fans were vocal about it, and we ended up not signing him. But that would have been like one of a free or very cheap striker buy, and I imagine Schroeder will have something up his shoulders if that's what he wants. But again, to me, it's more curious to see where we are on the table at that point. If we're still doing really well, we're battling for top 2 positions. Yeah, Schroeder's probably close to magic and find somebody to help with that depth on the attack, because I agree that's probably our weakest point at the moment. And then again, if we're on the flip side, if we come out of here with 0-3 or something, and we're sitting mid-table or worse, the money's probably going to go. Well, I'm sure they'll probably find some money for a striker still, but the majority of the money is probably going to go for a manager, I'd imagine. But I don't wish that. I hope to. It'd be great if he finishes 3-0 somehow and sit top of the table. That'd be something that no one would see coming. Not in our wildest dreams, I guess, going to the season. So, yeah.
I mean, before on the bounce then with the Sandhausen results as well.
It would be. It would be. I got some interesting news before we wrap this up. We always talk about
courtesy of NBC4 Nashville by any chance, or no?
I wish it was. We're gonna give this credit to NBC4 Nashville, but this one actually comes from Bola VIP. It's
classic Richard source.
You know how I do. I like Schroeder. I just find these articles out of these gems. Anyway, so we mentioned this, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. Former Schalke player was in Africa. Those you may remember, Hindrunde Kamba. He faked his own death. We shared this. I think it was from like Ghana Times or something. Another one of my gems. And anyway, he faked his own death, and the results came, I guess, from that. So it says, I'll read the title. It says, former Schalke player sentenced to jail after faking his own death and scamming an insurance company out of 1.2 million. So yeah, Hindrunde Kamba and his wife are sentenced to serve 3 years and 10 months in jail for faking the player's death. Low times for former Schalke players. Some do really well.
I mean, he was caught because authorities had just witnessed Schalke, the club, kind of die in and of itself, and so but they could tell
that should have been
the fake death from the real death. That was an absolute throwaway joke, but there you go. You've given me perhaps some bedtime reading this evening. I'll have to go check out that article and the long-awaited update to the saga.
That's right. All right, that should do it. Again, game on Saturday, live stream, watch along will be on. Big game against St. Pauli. The following games against Nuremberg, which will be on a Friday, which we'll not do a watch along for. But yeah, let's all focus right now is going to be a St. Pauli big game. Real quick, just looking at their goals for 34 goals, second in the league, only behind Darmstadt. Goals against 18. It's one of the best defensive records in the league. Surprisingly, we've only given up one more goal than they have. But the goal differential is ridiculous. It's 16 or something like that. So, but they have lost recently. They did lose recently. They lost to Darmstadt 4-0. So they are beatable. Big game, Jack.
Yeah, very much so. And we really needed those 5 goals that we scored in this one to make our goal tally and our goal difference look a little bit better, because we had been not too far north of
barely above 0
he scored prior to that. So yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we're only like +9 now, so we would have been like 5 or something like that. So all right. Well, on that note, let's wrap this bad boy up. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you sign up for the Schalke US newsletter. You simply just go to schalke.com and enter your email, and you get updates every month. Also, by the way, if you're not following with us on the watch along or not watching the games via German feed, if you still want to be part of the action, a great free way to do that is go to Schalke's website, go to the match center. You can listen to every game for free. It's in German, but at least you can hear how the game is going when the goals go in. So that's at least a way to do it. But, we recommend at least doing the watch along with us and join in the ups and downs, because all better way to live through ups and the miseries and all the goals and Buskens celebrations and with us in the watch along. So
yeah, Buskens, Bulter face, all
Bulter
the classic
face.
hallmarks of a great Saturday morning well spent.
I wonder if we can get a shirt with Bulter's smile, angry smile.
I think you just volunteered, sir. New to the SchalkeMerica store soon.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. Keep tuning in each week as we bring you the latest from the Royal Blues. Any topics you'd like us to discuss, any kind of videos you'd like us to discuss. We just actually posted a video on our YouTube page, a continuing of the history of Schalke. This was the focus of the 1940s through 1950. Previously, we did the origins through the 1920 and then 20s through 30s to 30 and then 30 to 40. So we're moving on up through the decades. Definitely give it a follow, give it a watch, learn about Schalke's history with all of us. So, Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMangan on Twitter.
Shout out NBC4 Nashville. As always, you can follow me at R_KHARMAN. Until the next podcast or watch along comes, we'll catch you soon. Tschüss.